So Devstream 161 has just ended, and in this Devstream they showed us a lot of what you can expect with the Angel of Zariman update when it arrives on the 27th of April. Now that is a tentative date, which means it could change, but right now that's the date you can expect this big update to drop on. Now I am changing the format of my usual Devstream recaps for this video simply because there is a lot, and I mean a lot, to take on board with regards the focus rework on each of the nodes that they went over during the Devstream, but also the new Warframe, Gyre and her abilities, and also the new game mode as well. Also, I am recovering from COVID, and talking for too long in a scripted format is going to leave me completely out of breath, and I'd rather not do that. So I'm going to let the devs do a little bit more explaining and talking than I normally do in this one, so I do apologise for that, in case you preferred the previous format. So let's just jump right into it. Crossplay or cross-save is still being worked on, right? That's all we were told, so we're going to just move on from that one. There are 3 new evolving weapons coming with the Angel of Zariman update. I think we were originally told there was going to be 5, but there's going to be 3 now with more to come later. The Incarnon weapons. Weapons that will unlock perks similar to kit guns in terms of fire rate, increased mag size, projectile speed and so on. And you're going to be able to chop and change some of these perks depending on which ones you want to fit in after. I think it's the first perk is locked in, and after that you can chop and change whichever ones you want. Their visuals also change drastically when you unlock this Incarnon mode in missions. I think the rifle on the Devstream went from being a semi-auto weapon to a fully blown auto minigun when it evolved, which looked absolutely insane. This is what it looked like.
Work in progress dev build of the Fenmore. What will happen is when you're playing, the activation will be smooth, effects and sounds, but we just wanted to give players understanding of the concept. So most of what you're seeing here is work in progress, but it's just to show you what's coming.
That's ridiculous.
It's amazing.
Ridiculous. In the best way.
Effects, sounds, all whips, but real time in mission, you'll be turning your primary into a, well, a heavy weapon. So that'll be happening as you're doing the Incarnon mode in mission.
Next up we have Gyre, our new Tesla electric-based female Warframe who has her own custom dash, which looks amazing. Probably the thing I like the most about Gyre when they showed her off was that dash. But after seeing her abilities, I'm genuinely not sure what to think. I guess I'll have to wait and see once I get my hands on her and see what way I can build her to fit my playstyle. Her passive will give her a 10% chance to deal critical bonus damage with her abilities for each electric status effect on an enemy, so abilities only. And this is her abilities in action and what they are. I'll let DE tell you all about them as well.
All right, Gyre's first ability is Arc Sphere. This launches a gyratory sphere that will deal high damage on impact.
Gyratory? Gyratory.
Gyratory.
Yeah.
Gyratory?
Gyratory.
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 That's going to make it interesting. Okay, keep going.
YouTube.com/how to pronounce gyratory sphere. Her name is Gyre. I don't see how you can...
I agree. Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
If you hit at least 3 enemies, it will enhance the launch damage. So you're throwing these arc spheres down. The more enemies you hit, the more damage they'll do. So these are, you know, localized AoE zones that you'll be deploying, known as an arc sphere. Then we'll go on to coil, and of course I'll show you all these in game momentarily. We're just going to do some pre-education before we get into the gameplay. Coil Horizon, you throw forward a gyratory sphere that will implode after 2 seconds or can be manually triggered. So this is basically like if you think of an ability that will give the ability to suck a whole bunch of enemies into one spot to, you know,
So
cluster.
like Vauban.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to cluster so that you can, of course, you can throw your arc sphere then on top of it because you know there will be more than 3 enemies there. So it allows you to kind of pop both of those together, get your Coil Horizons out, throw your arc sphere on top, lots of damage, lots of CC. Cathode Grace is a self-buff. You gain a brief burst of increased critical chance and energy regen, with each kill extending the duration of Cathode Grace. And then the ability itself is on a cooldown. So what this will do is you'll cast it, you'll be able to have some energy regen, and of course your crit chance goes up, but the more kills you get, the longer the duration is. But overall, the ability's on a cooldown, but that might not matter too much if you're good at keeping your,
Keeping it up, yeah.
exactly, your lethality up. So we'll take a look at that. And then last but not least is Rotor Swell, where Gyre's mechanisms spin at incredible speeds, generating an electric field that shocks nearby enemies. When Gyre gets a critical hit, a large electrical discharge will chain from the enemy that was hit to nearby enemies. So this is just basically a crit-focused AoE zapping ability with every critical hit. So, you know, off to the races. We'll play it now, but not before we take a look at her signature primary, the Alternox. This is a primary weapon.
Oh my
It's
God.
not subtle, is it? I was going to say
It's very subtle. Totally subtle. Not a massive electric cannon at all.
That looks so good. I'm into that for sure.
Yeah. We're not going to look at that today. We'll give you guys something to look forward to when you're playing the update, but it is quite something. The Alternox. Oh, actually, this is a new quality of life as well.
I love those.
Oh yeah, it
visual
stays on the
effects.
screen.
Yeah, the text
Yes.
description now stays on the screen. So before, you could only read about the weapons in this menu when you were selecting. So if you wanted to read about the Cedo, you'd have to stay, and then once you clicked here, it would go away. But now the text actually stays.
So be honest, what do you think of Gyre? Are you hyped for her addition, or are you maybe concerned that she will not fit your playstyle? Let me know in the comment section below. Next up, this is the new two-handed scythe that's coming with this update, and it is absolutely massive. But we also got a little bit of a hint as to how we're going to earn it. The second of the 3 new game modes that we were shown off was called Void Cascade. There is also a third game mode called Void Armageddon that we weren't shown and we're not going to be shown before the update. They want to keep that one a secret. Void Cascade is a bit like an intercept mission on crack, right? It's fast paced. You're always going to be moving with a new enemy or elite unit that you're going to have to take care of, while also removing corruption around the static kind of, I guess, intercept points as well in the mission. But the new enemy type will have that new two-handed scythe as a weapon, so more than likely that's how you're going to farm it. In fact, they hinted as much in the Devstream. So this is Void Cascade, a little bit of that in action with Rebecca describing it during the Devstream as well.
You want to get pumped, exactly. All right, so this one is actively being corrupted. I don't think I'm going to get through this guy in time. But now that is, oh, I didn't. So corrupted exilizers are spawning. I have to keep the ones that I have clean before that they get re-corrupted, and then I need to be ready to take any new ones that spawn and stop them from being under enemy control. This is an endless mission mode, so you can do this across the Zariman for as long as you can, you know, last with your squad. These guys will give you a tough time. You gotta look out for them.
Easy.
And then there's new drops.
That was cool.
Yeah, let's get in here.
There's Corpus enemies right now. There's always enemies.
Yes, the Zariman will be, you know, on the eyes of enemy factions to try and pillage it, and it'll rotate. So sometimes it'll be Corpus, sometimes it'll be Grineer. Not just any Grineer, it'll always be Kuva Grineer, which is an interesting thing that the quest might tell you more about.
Wink.
Oh my goodness.
I know, I'm under attack. Ooh! So they re-corrupted it, I didn't get it in time, but I will try my best. As you can see, they are also using a large scythe, perhaps the same one as me.
Perhaps the same.
Yeah, so at this point in time, I've cleaned and used 2 exilizers. There's one under attack. This one's actually currently actively being corrupted, or, you know, taken over. This one I need to get, and then I can have the Cascade under my control. So your objective is to consistently keep the Cascade under your control levels. The enemy will continue their attempts to take the exilizers and, you know, infect them, and it's our job to stop them from doing that. So you'll be trying to manage the flow of Corpus, the flow of these Thrax units, and the corruption that's taking place. So it will be good luck.
Now, they also showed off a new overhealth mechanic or protection system for Eximus units that makes them a tankier threat to Warframes. Eximus units will now have a new defense mechanic called Protection, which will temporarily keep them immune from Warframe's crowd control abilities and anything like stagger, stun, knockdown, mind control, blind, ragdoll. Also, radiation is not going to affect them once that protection is active, but you can put up to a maximum of 4 cold status effects on these Eximus units at any one time. So basically we're going to have to break the protection bar of these Eximus units before dealing any health damage. This protection bar is a flat value that is a portion of the overall health or shields of that unit, not an additive amount. Protection is indicated with a bar on top of their existing health or shields, which you've seen during the Devstream. You'll see the yellow bar of armor for the Eximus unit, but on top and kind of underneath it as well, there is a blue bar. I'm guessing that is the protection bar you need to smash. So of course, let me know what you think of the Xmas changes as well. Now this is Valkyr Deluxe's new skin, fully modeled in game, complete with new fist weapons and an additional armor set that you're going to be able to get your hands on as well. Now I love the body part of the Valkyr Deluxe skin, and the helmet, really nice as well, and the armor set's not bad. The arms, however, maybe just a little bit too much for my liking. It's just not my style, right? Now before I leave the clips of the new focus school, because this is going to be the clip that I guess that takes the longest, because they're going to go into quite a lot of depth on each of the focus schools, and there is also going to be a dev workshop going over each of the node changes as well. I quickly got to mention that there will be a new zoom function in the arsenal, so plenty more ass picks online of Warframes, right? Wisp is going to get way more attention than she ever did. The new war is a requirement you're going to need to play in order to get the Angels of Zariman quest to progress that as well. But the focus school changes are almost a complete overhaul and the biggest changes that the focus school has had to date, and it took time in the dev stream to go over each node of each focus school, and for the most part it is buffs all around, or quality of life changes all around, with maybe the exception of the Madurai focus school and the Void Strike ability. It will now drain all current operator energy and give you a massive buff to damage for I think 8 seconds. So Eidolon Hunters can let me know what they think, because this might be a pretty big nerf to them, but at the same time you're going to be able to do anything from 1000 damage or more with this buff. The only thing is it's going to drain all of your operators' energy at the same time. Zenuric is also getting some really nice buffs, but I'm going to let Rebecca go through all of the focus schools for you. Like I said, for this video and this video only, this will be the format that I will take, simply because I had COVID and I'm still recovering from it. But enjoy the video, enjoy the description of each of these focus changes. Let me know in the comment section below what you liked during the dev stream or didn't like as well. Have a great day, a great weekend, and as always, thanks for watching.
Last dev stream we did Unaru, and we will go back there today. But for Zenuric, we're going to talk about how it's changing. So if you have played the Zenuric Focus School, one of the more popular reasons to do it is because it has great energy regen, which we're keeping, and I want to explain how that's going to work. A lot of this is new, and some of it is familiar for the things that we felt worked thematically for each school. So for Zenuric, they're kind of our, wise, energy-focused ability casting, and for the most part, energy pulse is the same, but the screen itself has been redone to give you better exposure into what's actually going on in the focus schools. All waybounds will be listed here for your convenience so you can better understand what they are. We've rebalanced it so each focus node only takes 3 ranks, and that there's no visual language differences in what is active and not active, so a lot of thought has gone into just making it a more streamlined experience. So Energizing Dash is still here.
Renamed.
It's called Wellspring.
There was panic.
I know. Sorry.
Yeah, and a huge part of this focus rework is the fact that you can now use your ability keys to cast powers. So instead of dashing to a distance,
Sorry, chat's like, oh, never mind.
Chat's like totally turned, girls.
Yeah.
Everything's fine. Everything's fine.
you simply, while you're in operator mode, you simply press 1 and you create the Energizing Dash. Exactly where you are. You don't need to dash forward. You just are there, and then you get your Energizing Dash, quote unquote. So Wellspring is back, and to show you, actually, Dean, you might need to hide me, I'm so sorry. Let's take a look at what Hardened Wellspring is. Now, once you're inside your Wellspring, no longer Energizing Dash, if you tap one, not only do you increase its size, you boost its duration, and you grant 20% ability strength to those inside. So technically it's being buffed in terms of the gameplay potential for this loop. So if you are Zenuric, you can go into your operator, cast 1, and then you can tap inside again and you can get yourself a buff to those inside. So this is pretty much the direction and the hope that we have for the new trees, which is it's more interactive. You're using ability keys. Your operator is now a key part of the Warframe combat relationship. So this is a godsend on controller. Love to hear it. It'll be the same on whatever you cast on console. So for instance, I believe if you're using, like
right trigger A or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right. Inner might is pretty much the same. Oh no, this is totally wrong. I'm a liar. This is new. It allows your abilities to be cast without using energy or shields, but requires a 60-second recharge. If you were paying attention when I was Gyre, you saw that single orb around me. That was showing me that I had a free ability cast active. So Inner Might now allows you a free ability cast once every 60 seconds, basically. And you'll be indicated by that little orb or similar effects with it. So that's what that was, if you wondered what it was at the beginning of the ability. So you get a free cast. Disarming Sling. This is going to be new terminology to learn. Void Dash is now called Void Sling. In this case, if you sling through an enemy, it has a 50% chance to disarm them. We'll show you more of that with gameplay. And then No Quarter. Killing a disarmed enemy increases your operator regen by 10% for 10 seconds for max stacks. So you can disarm and kill to get yourself a little energy regen and build up for your operator specifically. Temporal Drag, this is where your second ability will come in. It emits a radial burst that slows enemies that it touches by 80% for 10 seconds. And Temporal Shot, which means if you get a precision headshot damage, is increased by 100% when enemies are affected with Temporal Drag. So essentially you cast your 2, slowed enemy, you get more damage. Get him while they're down. And then Void Siphon, these are your way bounds. So what that means for a player that's deep into focus is you can invest enough to unlock these for other schools. So of course, if you go all in on Void Siphon and Void Flow, any other focus school can have increased operator regen and of course increased operator cap.
So, and those two are unchanged. They are the same as they were.
Yeah, so you'll be getting your way bounds. So chat, this is where we are with Zenura.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
It's a lot to learn. All of the focus you've invested per school will be brought back per school. So if before this update I had, 7 million Zenuric invested across the Zenuric tree, I get all of it back for Zenuric itself. Each one is categorized.
And we briefly touched on this, I think, last Devstream, but you'll notice that the pool is completely gone. So not only are you going to get the focus back from the schools that you have used your focus points on, but you're also going to get Radiant Eidolon shards to make up for the focus that you put into the pool. So you're going to get that all back, and then you can choose to focus conversion that wherever you want.
Yes, so you can use those if you're like, oh, I'm going to put all my Radiant shards in.
Yeah, like if you look at the rework and you're like, hey, I'm really into a couple things of your Naru or Matarite, then you can kind of pick and play there with those.
Yeah.
Just need one larval tier for each.
Yeah, each respec.
Each school respec.
It's easy. It's fine.
Is that a Elden Ring?
Oh, that would be number
3. We're on 3.
Yeah. No more pool. That's the overview of how Zenuric is changing. We'll go to Naramon next and take a look at that.
Do you need a break?
I've been going.
I know,
I need help. My only food was
I was actually a little impressed,
chocolate
to be
bar.
honest.
I had a free chocolate bar from the train. That's all I've eaten.
And a kombucha, so those
And
two
a
things
kombucha,
together?
which I think slightly have alcohol in them, which is probably not good. But I don't know what they do.
You're doing great.
Okay.
Fermented.
Oh,
Fermented fun.
we sweating, boys. All right.
That's fantastic.
All right. One thing to note is there is a chance that things could change between now and launch. Take everything you're seeing with the understanding that the patch notes are going to have the final information, but this is at least the seeds for where we're going with things.
Yeah, the workshop after this isn't going to have all of these nodes detailed out. That's going to be in the patch notes. It's going to be more of a broad overview that you'll see, but you can reference this stream for what we're talking about now, and then when the forum patch notes comes out, you can kind of...
Exactly. So Naramon is my main focus school. It's melee, affinity. Some of these things have stayed the same. Of course, power spike with your combo counter decays versus runs out. The same affinity spike. You can get your increased affinity with melee attacks.
I got a bit more melee affinity as well from that. I think 5% more.
Yeah, so slight buffs. And much like our Zenuric had 2 new abilities, we'll talk about those here. In this case, opening slam, when you're in your operator, you can switch to your Warframe on your ground slam.
It's pretty cool.
So you're up in the air, you're your operator, you press E, you do a ground slam, and immediately turns you into your Warframe. And for 20 seconds, you get double combo game. So what would count as 1 strike for your combo counter is now 2. So you can build up your combo way faster with this new ability. And then so you can really kind of picture the way this is going to play out in your head.
A lot of synergy in trying to make Warframe and operator gameplay meld together in a not only really cool way, but also buffs for you, your operator, your Warframe to try and make it cool.
Yeah, so, and then the more you do this, you'll get rewarded with keeping your combo counter up, because say you manage to get, pretty quickly with your doubling of the combo counter, if you go back to your operator with an 8 multiplier on your combo, your amp damage increases. So it's a bit of a loop that you'll be doing. You'll be gaining and, blasting through your combo counter, getting it nice and high. Then when you go back into operator mode, you'll be getting more amp damage. Yeah, so lots of changes. stay with us, Tenno, you can do it. In the case of the first ability for Naramon, using your 1 ability creates a 6-meter wide shockwave that lasts 4 seconds that inflicts lift status on enemies it touches. So this is getting you that lift, which actually does count toward things like condition overload. But yeah, your lift status will be inflicted with an ability now. So you just press 1 and that will release the shockwave. And then lethal levitation is you get more damage for lifted enemies, and it lasts for if you use your operator. So there's a little bit of reward for using and increasing the lethality of your operator. Sling stun, again, Void Dash is now Void Sling. If you press 2, it increases the width of your next Void Sling by 40%, which means you press 2. When you do your next Void Sling, it'll be wider. Enemies will be vulnerable to finishers, taking more finisher damage. So this is you priming enemies to have finisher damage. And then the very fun one where you get to actually activate melee finishers as an operator. So if you sling stun through them, you can tap the finisher context action even if you're in your operator mode, and your Warframe will immediately transference and perform the finisher.
And the finisher as operator is game-wide. It's not just Naramon, it's just the critical chances.
Yes.
Added to it.
Yes. So you get the melee crit for your melee build with your Warframe. Yeah, it's not an operator finisher. Let's make sure
no,
we don't
you
go
come
out.
back to your Warframe.
Yeah,
You come
your
back to your
Warframe comes to do the job, but your operator sets the stage.
Operator snapping necks.
Yeah, exactly. No. Yeah, I got to mocap that with Jeff. The size difference. All right, and then I believe Mind Step and Farsling are the same. They're just renamed.
Yeah.
So if you want to have faster operator movement, and if you want to have a faster Void Sling, you just need to unwaybind these.
Yep.
That's it. All right.
And that's Naramon.
That's Naramon.
On to the next.
I love all the synergies. When we first conceived of this idea, like we were talking about, almost like a tag team thing, like, and having things interact like that, it's great to see it coming to fruition more.
Yeah, and since the last dev stream when we first showed the Void Sling, we increased the range and speed. So you'll be seeing a much faster, further version of that. So when we get to gameplay, you'll be able to see that we're trying not to take away too much speed and momentum. We're just trying to refine it so it feels more controllable with all the powers and the reworks we're adding. Void Dash, as it is very good at, you know, gap closing very long distances, but it's not good at engaging in close quarters combat, in bigger tile combat. So we're just trying to make it feel like a system you have more control over overall. That's pretty much it. So let's take a look at Matter-Eye. Now this is a school that's probably going to need the most explanation from us on what's changing and why. There is a Matter-Eye way of playing where you sit in Void mode for as long as you want to build up an infinite damage cap. This is used from expert Eidolon hunters to max their damage. And we did change it, but we're not trying to be too destructive. So we just didn't like that you had to sit invisible in the game to get the best damage buff possible.
Right.
We understand that Eidolon hunters have put a lot of work into becoming experts using these certain things, but we hope you can at least take a look at what's coming to understand why we think it's better. And we will be listening to your feedback as well after, but I'm just gonna go right to Void Strike because there's no point in not, so you'll have to hide me, Dee. Void Strike is now an activated ability. So instead of waiting in your Void mode for, you know, ever, essentially, you now press 1 and your entire energy pool is drained, and you now have a sustained damage increase for 8 seconds, which means all damage you deal for 8 seconds has a 10% per energy. So it's a very, very large buff that you'll be getting in an 8-second window. And all it will require you to do is to press 1, it's on a cooldown, but for that 8-second window, you will be blasting.
Yeah.
Your damage buff will be on everything. We're talking shotgun spreads, absolutely everything. So essentially, every 40 seconds, you get an 8-second colossal damage buff.
Yeah, like if you do 100% energy, you're 1000% damage for 8 seconds.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if you use 100% of your energy pool for this, which is to say, you go into Void mode, which is your stealth mode, or actually you don't even have to. You just need to turn into your operator. So you don't even need to go invisible anymore.
Just press 1.
Go to operator, press 1. That's 100% of your energy drained, which means you have a major damage increase. So this is the plan. It's feeling pretty good, and we hope you give it a try. And yeah, that'll be part of the changes for Matter-Eye.
Mixed reaction.
Mixed reaction because
fair.
Well,
It's
it's
fair.
just a
It's
lot.
fair.
It's
It's
a lot to
changeable.
take in,
Okay.
and it's changed. But I think it's into time for a refresh.
it is.
Yep.
Yes, it is. We'll take a look at, we'll read chats and feedback after, but essentially this should be enough for you guys to build a understanding of how it's going to work and what the rotation and flow is going to be.
Yep.
It is very powerful. So, and you don't need to sit in void mode at all.
Just
like,
sitting
that's
there.
not exactly the best way to show
Right.
the game and the gameplay. So anyway, that's why that's changing. And then void fuel, which is, oh, so this actually, there's more, and hopefully you'll be able to see where we're going with this. Your weapons also get ammo efficiency. So if you're using something that has, say you're using something with low magazine capacity, you get 40% efficiency for it. So not only are you getting 8 seconds of crazy damage buff, you'll also just straight up be using less ammo. So if you had something with only, 4 bullets in the magazine, there's a 40% efficiency on it, which means you actually get way more use out of the weapon for the buff. So reloading won't be as relevant because you'll be, it's literally a buff chat. Thank you, Twitch viewer, for realizing that it literally is. But there's ways that it's not too, and that's just.
It's changed, and it's hard to kind of grasp, like just reading it off the screen. Like playing it, definitely you get a better feel for it. So
yeah. All right, that will be the Void Strike, Void Fuel. So you get, it's literally okay. 40 seconds does change it, but you had to sit invisibly for a long time anyway. We'll get into it, we'll talk feedback, and we'll read the dev workshop, but this is where we're going with that. So thank you for sticking with Matarai, and we're gonna go on to power transfer. This is where your 100% amp critical damage for 20 seconds on switching to operator, or 50% casting speed on switching to Warframe. So when you switch between, your operator and your Warframe, you'll be either getting a crit damage increase on your amp, or you'll be getting casting speed increase on your operator. So as you rotate between the two, you'll be getting effectively a damage buff on your operator, and you'll be getting casting speed on your Warframe. And then we'll go into chained sling, which means you have energy efficiency on consecutive void slings. So as you're going through traversing, you won't be using as much energy to do so. And then sling strength, which means that when you switch to your Warframe after a chained sling, you get ability strength. So you'll want to be chaining your slings, switch to Warframe, and then you get some ability strength for your Warframe. Contamination Wave, this is your second ability for the Matarai tree. Pressing 2 emits a void wave lasting 2 seconds that drenches enemies with void contamination, making them 25% more vulnerable to operator damage for 20 seconds. And then if you kill an enemy, it'll make all affected enemies 25% more vulnerable, along with the effect lasts 10 seconds longer, maximum 3 stacks. So you're kind of coating enemies in the contamination. You can get a loop going where you're spreading it, max 3 stacks, and keeping the duration going. So you can sustain a contamination wave potentially infinitely if you're playing within this. Yeah.
and then those are the same.
Not subtle changes.
Not subtle changes.
No.
All right. Inner gaze. I think these are exactly the
Inner
same.
gaze and eternal gaze are the same. Yeah.
Yeah. And these are your waybounds,
Yeah.
so you'll be able to unlock these on any tree. So you can get more energy for your amps, more regen for your amps and Void Beam. We have not done Vazarin. Let us go to Vazarin. Take a closer look. Mending Unity. This is the same. I think we had buffed it a tiny bit. Increases affinity radius by 25. Maybe we didn't. There was a version that we did. But Mending Unity.
Mending Unity is unchanged.
It's unchanged, yes.
Mending Soul is a bit tweaked.
Yes, the first, oh yes. So right now, Vazarin players love to be very helpful with the squad. They go in, there's no revive timer. They pop a revive, away they go. And once you're done your 4 charges, well, you're done. So what we've done is we've also made it that after that point, you can just revive faster. So
Yeah, Speedy Reviver.
Speedy Reviver. Void Regen, your Void mode starts healing at 10 health per second, increasing by 10 per second up to a maximum of 50. And Squad Regen, when Void Regen reaches its maximum, it's applied to operators with infinity range for 40 seconds. So helping out your squad. Void Snare, so here's your second ability in Vazarin. Vazarin enjoyers, indeed. 2 launches a projectile that spins a vortex trap on impact, or tap 2 to detonate in flight. Lasts 8 seconds. Void Sling through it to grant allies within affinity range 100 health, so you can be creating health boosts for your squad mates. And any allies touched by your Void Sling are granted immunity. So this is pretty much, instead of Protective Dash, it's Protective Sling. So similar. And then for Guardian Shell, press 1 to manifest a barrier on the operator and allies in range. It's invulnerable for 4 seconds. When created, inflicted will... oh, right, so this is a scaling one, and my brain just kind of short-circuited there. But damage inflicted while it's invulnerable will be added to its base health. So this is how we scale certain abilities like Frost's Snow Globe. Any damage coming in goes to the effective health of it. When it's done, it's 4-second absorption phase. So this is for operators and allies in affinity range. So Guardian Shell is now an activated ability. Press 1 to do it, and you can keep your, friends alive. Guardian Break, when it breaks, Warframe shield regeneration is increased and regeneration delay is reduced. So it's just a second layer of survivability. And I am fairly certain these are exactly the same.
Enduring Tides is the same. Rejuvenating Tides, it just effect is doubled while controlling Warframe, just to give that synergy.
Yep. Back and forth.
Yeah, that's cool.
All right. One more. And then there's a pop quiz, so don't mess up.
And then there's a quiz.
There'll be a survey after.
Press 1, what's that to map with the controller? Whatever you would use for your Warframe abilities.
Yeah, whatever your 1 is, so like a right trigger A, right trigger B, whatever you have it mapped to be, will be your 1 for operator.
And last but not least, Unaru. We went over this last stream, so we're not going to go too deep into it. Poise is just an immunity to slow, stagger, and knock down for 40 seconds after transferring between operator or Warframe. So as you keep a rotation going, you're immune to, well, essentially a poise. Stone Skin got buffed a little bit. And we have, I think we went over all of these on the last stream.
Yeah, because remember Static Flush, but now it's
Static
Static
Purge.
Purge. Sorry.
Yeah.
Take away the flush.
We'll go over them again because I don't think we actually, because people are going to be interested in Unaru Wisp for sure. So Caustic Strike, press 2 to launch an energy bomb that explodes with an 8-meter radius, stripping 75% energy armor. You can tap 2 to detonate it in flight. So, remove enemy defenses when it comes to armor. And the Unaru Wisp is a 100% chance to summon a Unaru Wisp per enemy hit by Caustic Strike. So if you're blasting enemies with Caustic Strike, the Wisps will come and they'll now seek out your allies within affinity range rather than allies having to come pick them up.
Go and find them, yeah.
Yeah. So you can now hopefully get your Unaru Wisps more easily rather than having to pick them up. Magnetic Flare is similar to Caustic Strike, except it's more of an anti-shield mech. Press 2 to create the anti-shield tech, and then Magnetic Boost, which is Void Slinging out of a Magnetic Flare to refresh duration and increase its radius. So if you cast this in front of it, if you Void Sling out, it will, sustain that field for longer and make it bigger. All right, I need a drink.
Yeah.
We got through it.